Yes, your
Yes, your
screen.
screen is visible.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Basically, my plan for today is, just we'll review what we did yesterday. Then understand in detail what is the presentation and application layers. Then we will go ahead with the SAP server landscape. What is a typical SAP server landscape? Then we'll see what is the SAP GUI and how to access it using that. What are instance numbers, system IDs? What is a dialog and central instance and database instance? Work processes, what is a client, user ID, password, etc. And how to know the system details once you log in. Okay, so this is what I'll be covering today. So this is for today. Yeah, I'll just run through, yesterday's this thing. Basically, this is the SAP history which we saw. Okay, this is the latest rise with SAP which we saw. Then this is a brief history of R1, R2, R3, etc. Then the SAP basis, how it is core of the entire SAP landscape. What is OLTP and OLAP? S4 HANA, which has come up with a new front end called the Fiori front end. And the new SAP has got its own database called HANA. This was the original R3 installation. Now in S4 HANA, it comes like this, totally in memory computing. These are the tiles which are there in Fiori, which we saw. Broadly, these are the modules which are implemented across most of the companies. There are some industry-specific modules which are also there, which you can implement. This is the standard SAP installation, or you can say these are the three main layers: presentation, application, and database. This is for NetWeaver, wherein the Java stack has been introduced because people are accessing. Hello. This is the standard ABAP application server. This is the Java in detail, Java cluster in detail. And then we saw, what are the basic activities of a basis consultant when he starts working on actively working on SAP basis. So I had listed down about 40, but there are many others which are there. So this covers yesterday's revision kind of a thing. Then we'll start with today. Like we saw, SAP basis forms the core of the any SAP installation. So the basis person are very important, and they are core of the organization. Now today we'll see what is the presentation and application layer. Okay, and then maybe tomorrow we'll see the database layer. I have taken the same screenshots from yesterday's. Because today we'll be looking at SAP GUI and then how the work processes are configured and how they access the database. Okay. Then this is in detail actually how the users log on to the SAP GUI and how the dispatcher manages the queue and assigns each request to a work process. So, and then each work process will access the data using the database management and then again send back the information to the user. This is again, it is instead of web client, this is a web client. That means it's coming from a browser. The Internet Communication Manager manages each HTTP or HTTPS request, and then depending on the request, it will run the Java application and then fetch the database information and then again send it back to the browser. So in any, if you see, in any typical SAP installation, you will always find this kind of a scenario. You'll have a number of users, where here it is shown as number of PCs or laptops or mobiles, so they will be connecting to one of the application servers. See, there is something called a functional team, and there are the other users, the business users. So the business users will always connect to the production systems, and a functional team will also connect to the production system as well as their other systems where they are doing their customizations, etc. For example, Abacus will connect to the development system. Uh, for testing, the functional team will be connecting to the testing system. Or if training is being conducted, then they will be connecting to the training system. So all these users are classified, and the security team takes care of this. They know which set of users are going to do training, which set of users are developers, and so on. So as per approvals, these users are given access to these servers. There is no unauthorized access to servers because the data is very confidential. So only specific users are given, even for testing, only specific users, for example, the people who are going to basically test a particular scenario, only they will be given access to the testing server. Uh, Once the testing is over, then those users are locked. Okay. So that is the scenario that is followed, and there is a strict, approval process which is involved. So that will come to that later. So in any typical SAP landscape, you will have a number of, here I have shown these three application servers, but in application servers in the sense, one could be a development, other could be quality, and other, then this could be production. And these production systems may be having additional dialog instances to cater to the additional number of users as well as for distributing the load. Okay. Now we'll come to the SAP GUI in detail. SAP GUI basically is a graphical user interface which you need to download from the SAP marketplace. Now, even this SAP GUI uh, gets updated frequently. It has got its own patches, etc. So sometimes what happens is you will find errors while accessing the systems, or for example, while you are printing something, some document, uh, or while you are printing labels to a barcode printer. So maybe they will advise you to, download the GUI patches and then apply them and then test it. So even this is very important. GUI software comes with, depends on where you would like to install, whether it is on a Microsoft Windows platform or the Mac OS, or you want to install it on the Linux, or you want to install it on IBM AIX and so on. So depending on the operating system where you would like to install the SAP GUI, you will have to download that software from the SAP marketplace and then install it. And the installation is very easy. So nothing much, you just download and install the entire thing. Like I said, it has got its own upgrade path, and it has got its own patches, etc. So that depends whether if you're 90% of the time you don't have to patch the GUI, but I have come across instances where you need to patch it in case of some errors or something like that. Uh, Now, if you see on the screen, it typically looks something like this. Okay, here it will show you the SAP logon. Basically, it is called the SAP logon pad, and this 750 that you see here is the SAP GUI version. Okay, and then on this, if you click on this create button, then it will allow you to create the connection to the SAP system. Now, for getting access to a SAP system, you need details like uh, what is the system ID of that particular system, what is the instance number, what is the message number, what is the IP address of that server, and so on. So we'll see that in detail. I've just taken up these from the internet because presently we don't have access to the system. So once we get that, we'll show you how actually it works. Okay. Now let's see option one, wherein when you say create, then there is it goes through this particular first screen wherein you enter the description. Let us say if it is your development system, then you can enter that description. Application server is nothing but your IP address of that development system. Then comes the instance number of that application of that development system. Then the system ID of that development system, and then the SAP router string. See, this SAP router string is required in case you are accessing through the VPN. Okay, so this is optional actually. If you are if you are accessing through a LAN or a wide area network, then you need not, this SAP router string is not required. Okay. So this is one option where, and then for each of the servers which you want to connect to, you give these details, and then it will that those entries will come here. Okay, so you will come to know, okay, this is a quality server, this is a production server, or this is some testing server, and so on. So once you click on this, then it will take you to the logon screen. So this is one option wherein you are directly connecting to a specific server. There is another option which we will see. So this is how I told you all this. This is how to connect it. So you enter the SAP server description. In the next line, you enter the IP address, the instance number, the system ID, etc. Any questions you have right now?
No, sir.
No, no. Okay. You can stop me in between in case you feel that okay, something is required. So instance number, the system ID, etc. Then uh, basically the instance number is given when a SAP system is being installed. So that is in the range between 00 to 99. Okay. Then again, the system ID is also given when the system is installed. So before when you are planning for a SAP landscape, you need to plan it properly. What should be your instance numbers? What should be your IP addresses? What should be your host names? And what should be your system IDs? Because that makes it very easy for users also, and for the functional team as well as the users to identify what is which system they are accessing. Okay. Now, for example, I just given a small example here, wherein for example, this is a development system. So CGD indicates that, for example, I have given this from my previous company. So the CGD indicates it's a development system. CGD indicates development, and it has got its instance number as 00. You can give it as 01, 02, 03. That is not a problem. Okay. Then quality systems, you can give it as CGQ. So you will come to know that okay, you are accessing the quality system. Then the instance number. Then in the production system, they have given it as
We can name
CGI.
anything, right? In name of CGD and CDQ, we can write
You
some other.
you can give other names also. But what happens is if you because if you're working on many systems, then it becomes easy for you to to identify what is a development system, what is quality, and so on. So just by looking at the system ID, you will know you're logging a. If it is say CGT, then you will know that it is a training system, that kind of a thing. So you can give whatever you like. So I'm just what I recommend is that better to give whatever is familiar to us. Okay.
This is easy
So
for remembering.
this, easy for remembering, right? Right. So for example, in particular SAP system, what I mean here is if you're going to have a system ID CMP, in that your instance number should be unique. Okay. So you can have 01, 02, 03. Okay. You cannot have again 01 here. Okay, so you cannot have first system CMP01 again say second system CMP02, sorry 01, and again third also CMP01. These have to be unique in a particular SAP system landscape for a particular system ID. Okay. Now, since these are development systems, this is only a single server. So you can give only because there are no additional servers which are connecting to the development system, or there are no additional servers which are connecting to the quality system. In this production system, what happens is you got a production main system is there, and there are additional applications which are connecting. So in that case, you have to give different instance numbers. Okay. So basically that is related to instance numbers and system IDs. These are configured. These cannot be changed once the SAP system is completely installed. So whenever you are installing a SAP system, at that time it will ask you what should be the instance number, what should be your system ID. So whatever you give it at that particular time, it is going to be permanent for that particular server that you have to remember. Now in this SAP GUI connection, we saw option one. Now let's see what is option two. Okay. See, option two is used basically for SAP logon load balancing. Um, See here, what I mean by SAP logon load balancing is, see, let us say you have got a single server, and it has got, let us say, a limited capacity there, and you've got say around 3000 users. So if 3000 users are logging on to a particular server which is not having much computing capacity, then servers will face performance issues. Their reports may not run that fast, or whatever they are data entry they are doing, that may not be that fast. So to cater to the load, what is advised is we create additional dialog instances which takes care of the additional load. Okay, and then this load is distributed across all these additional application servers. For example, you have app 1, app 2, app 3, app 4, and so on. So each each server has got its own computing capacity, the CPU and the memory. So depending on that, you can distribute the load of the users. So let us say you have got 3000 users, then you can distribute, say, 1000 on the application servers like that. Okay. So, but then how will the SAP users know where to log on, which server to log on? So this is taken care by the SAP system itself. There is something called there is a transaction code called SMLG. You know, SMLG. So in that you need to configure which are the servers which will participate in this load distribution. Okay, and
Hi,
then
can you share me this most important T codes?
yeah, 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 yeah. I'll do that. I'll do that. Okay. So this SMLG, in that you will be configuring which are the servers which will be involved in this load distribution, and when the front at the front end, let's see how it is done. Okay. Now here I have mentioned, let's go to the screenshot only. I'll just show you that. So here, if you see, I have selected connection type as group and server selection. In the earlier selection, it is only custom application server. Okay, here we are selecting a single server. In this option where logon load balancing will take place, here we are selecting a group of servers. Okay, okay. So here you will say, okay, I want to connect to my production system. And here what you have to do is, here you have to just enter the message server IP. So once you enter the message server IP, the details like the system ID, the group server uh, names, whatever you have defined in using the logon load balancing, that is, it connects, this SAP GUI automatically connects through the backend and populates all the data here. Okay. So here you don't have to enter the instance number, because the user will be directed to a particular server where the load is less. Okay. Okay. So this instance number, see, in this case, we had given instance number. If you see here, we are giving instance number. Specific instance number we are giving as system ID. So if, when we give specific instance number, the user is going to log on to a specific instance only. But in log on load balancing, what happens is he is going to log this comes automatically because now SAP handles to which instance this particular user has uh, to be directed depending on the load of the servers. So it will check dynamically, which server has got less load compared to the others, and then it will direct that particular user to that particular server like that. So that is what is done here. You enter the SAP description, then you enter the IP address of the message server. This is internally configured SMLG. Okay. There is no instance number here. You need to select the group. So what
What
I will
SMLG stands for?
see. It is just a transaction code. Actually, it is system monitoring log on load balancing. So it is a standard transaction code which they have given. It doesn't mean anything as such, but it will take you to that particular log on load balancing screen, wherein I'll just show it to you in Notepad. So you will have, let us say, you have the app server 1, 2, 3, 4. So for each of this, let us say I'm going to group this into group 1, group 2, group 3. Let us say APP 5 is also there, 6 is there. Okay. So I'll make this as group 1, group 1, 2.
Can we give it like this, like group 1 for APP application 1, 2 and 3, and 4, 5, 6 for group 2?
Yeah. It is like this. Here, what I would like to tell you is, see, when the here this will come to the groups. See here, it will show you once you enter the message server IP. It will show you which. See here, it's a pull down list. Here we are not entering anything. So this is a pull down list. So in the pull down, it will show you two groups: GR1 and GR2 and GR3, because one server I would like to take it on to APP6. A small group of users will log on to group 3. So you can configure this on each of those users. So what happens is the user sees only this particular entry on his SAP logon screen. For example, I'll just show you here. For example, here PRD say MSWC. So he sees only this particular group, say GR1 or GR2 and so on. So once he logs on using this particular group, okay, either he will be taken to app 1 or app 2 or app 3. Okay, he will go to
According
app
to
1.
the less users in it, right?
Correct. Yeah. So wherever there is less load, he will be taken to those. In case of GR2, he will be taken to app 4,
Or app 5.
app 5. Yeah. And
What about
here,
GRC? If there is much load in GR3, there is only APP6 or application 6, right? What is the process?
see, then what you can do is, suppose you want to include this, so you can change this group to like this. You can make like this. Suppose,
Can we do that?
yeah, that is possible. See, why this is given, I will tell you. Tomorrow, let us say you have a hardware issue on this server, let us say. Let us say you have got a hardware issue on, say, app 2 and you need to bring it down. So what you can do is, you have to just remove this particular instance from group 1. So what happens is SAP takes care of, it will take
And
you.
And
only
remove it
to
from
app
group
one
1,
and app
and
two.
can we keep it in group 3? For example,
Uh,
this is my doubt. We can remove it
Again,
from group 2 and we can keep it in group 3, and if
yeah,
at
yeah,
that
yeah.
meantime we can
Yes,
keep
yes. Yeah, yeah.
application 6 in group 2, right? Group 1, right? Sorry.
This you can move it to group two. That is not a
No,
problem.
no,
Like
my
this.
question is, can we move application 2 from group 1 to group 3 if there is an hardware issue, and application 6 from group 3 to group 1? Can we switch them both?
No, what happens is if there is a hardware issue, then your system is not available now. So you
Yep.
cannot, because that,
Okay.
see, if your system is not available, what would happen? Suppose, let us say, let us take this example. Let us say it is like this: app one, app two, and app three, and your
Okay.
app two server is down. Let us say physically it is
Okay.
down. Okay.
Okay.
So what will happen is their users might get issues, because the system might, because you're directing it to, if that assignment is not taken off, then they may get directed to app two.
Okay.
Okay. So what is recommended is you remove it from group one
Uh,
temporarily. Okay, temporarily, so that all
okay.
users who are accessing group one will go directly to uh,
Group 1 and group
group
3.
one and three. Sorry, app
App
one and
1 and app 3.
app two,
Sorry,
three,
my
like that.
mistake.
Yeah, no problem. So basically, this is for, the users will not know which systems are down, and so on,
Uh,
because this happens in actual scenarios, where some systems go down and it takes time for getting the parts and so on, so in that case, you need to manage all these groups
okay.
like that.
I got
And
you.
then you can move across groups, like I said, if you have got app six is there, you have got app server six. If this was in another group, and if you find that, okay, not many people are logging on into this server, then we can use these resources of app six. Then you can put it into group one. Let us say your app two is down, and you want to move this into group one. So what will happen is people will access app six like that. Okay.
Okay. What about
So
the?
that is basically log and load balancing. So, and then see, you don't have to tell the users that, okay, you log on to this server and that server. That is automatically managed. Because just imagine you've got 3,000 users who are logging on to your SAP system. So you cannot tell each one of them to, change their connections on their, uh, you know, SAP logon pads and so on. That's not possible also. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so that you have to take care of it, in because that helps a lot in this log on load balancing.
Sorry for the inconvenience and my doubts.
No, 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 no problem, no problem. That is not a problem. See, because as you go ahead now, you will come to know many things, and you should ask. That is not a problem.
Actually,
Well, once once everything is configured, and once you click on this particular entry now, you are ready to log on. You will click one of these entries. Then this is the screen which you will get. Okay. This is the first screen which you get. Here you will find it is asking you for a client, the the user and the password and the logon language. Now, see, logon SAP comes in multiple languages. Uh, you could have German, you could have
it
Swedish,
supports
or
90,000 words or something like that, right?
It's not question of words, but there are many languages which are there, more than at least 40 to 50 languages which it supports. In addition to that, you need to install those languages when you are installing SAP. So let us say you want a specific type of Korean language, or specific type, because Chinese has got their own different dialects and etc. Or if you want a Japanese language, and if that is not installed, then it may not display that language, because basically what it does is it translates everything into that specific this, whatever menus you see or whatever is displayed, that gets translated into that particular language. So by default, when you're installing it, by default it shows you that, okay, we are installing English and Dutch, and few European languages. But then if you need to install additional, then you need to install those, and then only you can get the functionality activated. Now, coming to the client. Now, client is basically one of the topmost uh, in what you can say is uh, for example, let us take a company where it has got many manufacturing units across India. Okay, but the company name is same. For example, let us say XYZ company. XYZ company has got say 20 manufacturing locations across India, but their corporate uh, office is XYZ and it is say located in Mumbai. So they will decide that that is the on top of it there is something called a client. So when SAP is installed, at that time the basis guy has to discuss with the functional team as well as the business team what should be their client. So there is a client naming convention which needs to be decided. So clients again, you can have the same client for clients can be for development, then for QA, for production. So for development, let us say you will have say 510. For quality, you will have say 610, and for say production, you will have 710. Okay. So here, this has to be decided uh, whenever you are thinking of a SAP landscape. Okay. Once this is for production, you cannot. Once the clients are decided, you cannot change them later on, unless you want to do a client copy and so on. But client copy also you cannot transfer all the master data, etc. Okay. So this is also critical deciding the client.
One more query, Shukla. Who is gonna install this SAP? I mean, totally. Is that us or some other team will work on it?
No, the basis team is responsible for all this installations.
Okay.
See, what happens is whenever, for example, it's a new company and they want to install SAP. So what happens is they will look at people who are knowing SAP basis. If they don't have a team, then they have to outsource it, and then that team does the installation. Okay, but later on, once you are familiar with the installation process and so on, then you can also do it. So initially, many companies, when they're doing the first time installation, because it's a big project, so they outsource it to
Some
other
basis
companies.
team or something like
Yes,
that.
yeah, yeah. They give it to the external basis team, and then because they are going live for the first time, so that time they give it to the outsiders, because the insider, what happens is they take time to understand everything and then
They
do it.
can't take risk. Basically, they can't take risk, right?
Yeah, yeah, they cannot take risk because the project
It's
gets
a,
delayed and so on. So
and it's
that
their
is,
first time too.
yeah, 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 you're right. But during the discussions, you will come to know, that these are the important aspects of
Basis
uh,
guy.
deciding. Yeah, yeah. So client forms the topmost, uh, uh, and this also gets included in all the data tables, and transactions. Many tables are there where this client ID, for example, and there are some standard clients which are delivered by SAP. For example, here in the screenshot, you can see 001. This is a standard client which is delivered by SAP. Now, client in the sense, what happens is um, this client, not only the SAP software, it also comes with the benchmarked software, I mean, business practices along with it. So, mm, like I said, the functional team, what they do is they configure whatever is delivered by SAP, the standard benchmarking business processes into their business. For example, all the business processes, standard business processes are already configured in SAP. But where there, what you have to do is you have to enter your plant codes, your company codes, your various, for example, if it is related to finance, then you have to enter the chart of accounts, then your different account receivable accounts, etc. Like, so all those things, SAP allows you to customize all those things. But the process which is standard, for example, finance, debit, credit, it is going to be standard. So that is going to be standard across the globe. So those processes are standard. For example, production planning or your bill of material or your material requirement planning, all these processes are standard. So so those processes are used, except that you need to customize as per your scenario. So that you have to do it. So what happens is this particular client 001, this is a standard client which is supplied, delivered by SAP. Then you create, for example, if you're creating a client 710. So in that case, what you need to do is you have to make a client copy. You take client 001 and make a copy of it as 710. And in that 710, you will be customizing the functional team will be customizing everything. Okay. So as we go ahead, we'll come to know how customizing is done in a development system. So let us say you have got a development system of say client ID 510. Okay. So you will take standard client, say 001, and make a copy of it in the development system as 510. And then your functional uh, team will work in say DV slash
Just
510.
duplicating it and rename, changing the name. That's it, right?
Correct. So whatever is delivered by SAP 001, everything, I mean the entire customizing, the benchmarks, etc., gets copied to say 510. Then our team will log on to dev 510 and then do their customizing like that, or
Okay.
ABAP development, okay, like that.
Okay.
So that is why this client is very important. Now, once uh, so the security team will create users. They will create users in the client, and the initial passwords are given to users. So this is the again. See, some places the basis team and the security team both do the same work. I mean, sometimes it is a single team which does the security part also and the basis part
Basis
also.
part also.
But sometimes there is a segregated team. It's a security team is separate. Then they will create the users, etc., and then they will give it to the functional team or the users, like that. Okay. So this is the initial screen of the client, the user ID, the password, etc. Once the initial password is given, then it will pop up and tell you to change the password which has been given to you. Then that once that is changed, then that is only known to you. Let us just go through the different types of instances. Again, we'll come back to this once we finish this particular part. Okay. See, the dialog instances are application servers basically. These are required when you need to cater to a large number of users and you need to distribute the load on the server. This See, each server comes with a dialog instance because there is something called a central instance and a dialog instance. But the dialog instance is majoritarily used to connect to the production system where load distribution is required. The central instance gets created when the system is started. The central instance is also a dialog instance, but it has got its additional services which takes care of it. For example, the NQ service, it manages the lock.
Sorry to interrupt. I did not get the difference between dialog and central instance. Can you
Yeah, yeah,
re-explain me that,
yeah, yeah,
please?
yeah, yeah, surely, surely. See, dialog instance is basically taking care of additional load. It has got additional work processes for the printing or the dialog users. Okay, it
Okay.
doesn't cater to any other service as such. It doesn't take care of locking of the tables, etc. Okay, it is just used for load balancing, you can say. So that's why it is
Okay.
called dialog instance. Okay,
Okay.
so people will log on to the server, and if the load is less, then the performance is better. Okay, so
Okay.
that is the only use of this dialog instance. Like we saw, these app servers, here, app
Okay.
servers. These are nothing but dialog instances. Okay,
Okay.
okay, and these app servers, all app servers, the app servers connect to the central.
Dialog in the sense it shows only dialog. Central instance takes care of everything. I mean, working in the back end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, what happens is all app servers will connect to the central instance. If your central instance is down, okay, then your entire SAP system is down,
Okay.
because all your app servers, app 1, app 2, app 3, app 4, app 5, app 6, all will connect to the central instance.
Central instance. I
Okay, if
got you on this, but my question is dialog instance only shows them the dialog where central instance uh,
central
work
instance
manage
will
do the
manage.
actual work in the
Yeah,
simple
yeah, you're
words.
right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay,
This
thank
will
you.
manage, see, let us say on app server one, or let us say one of the tables is locked for updation. Okay. Then it will not allow updation on app two. It knows that, okay, on app one, this particular table is locked for updation. Okay. So app two, it will keep it in queue. Something is
Okay.
coming for updation to the same table, then it will keep it in queue. Okay, so this is managed by the central instance. So this and basically it takes care of locking of objects, and then it also runs the message server, which will uh, which 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 will tell the app server which um, work processes to be activated. So there are two things which are managed from the central instance. One is the NQ service and the message server. Okay. So that is the only difference. If your central instance is down, then none of your dialog instances will come up. Okay.
If it's down, the total everything is down, right?
Everything is down. Everything is down. So you have to ensure that your central instance is uh, properly coming up. Then only it will. Then only your other servers will come up.
We
Otherwise,
should keep our eye on central instance every time.
yes, yes,
We
yes.
should not
Yeah.
make it down or something like that.
Yeah. See, mostly production servers are so sturdy, and you cannot bring it down because you're not supposed to bring it down unless there is a approval from the management, unless you are doing some maintenance kind of activity. So even if you are in basis, you cannot decide to just shut it down, because just imagine you have got say uh, say 3 or 4,000 users who are logging onto your server across the globe, you can say. Then what will happen is, suddenly if it is going down, then
Hmm.
top management always has got eye on this, because it's their business which is running on it, na? So you have to take approvals for all this. But if it is a small setup, say 50 users or something, then you can decide, you want to shut it down, then you can shut it down. That is no problem. So it
Okay.
depends on server to server.
And management.
Yeah, yeah, and management, right. Then comes the database instance. See, database instance is an instance where your database is running. For example, you have got a Oracle database which is running. So in many cases, what happens is, your there is something called clustering. You have got one node you got two nodes. On one node, you have got the central instance running, and on another node, you have got the database running. Let's take one example here. Node 1, you have running.
Okay.
Node 2, by node, I mean server only. Yeah.
Yep, I knew it. Database instance.
Yeah. You got this one.
Oracle.
Yeah.
Database Oracle. What's that?
No. This is, I've just given an example where you're
Okay.
running the Oracle database. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. You're running Oracle or SQL or HANA, whatever database is there that you are running on another node. And node 1 and node 2. So node 1 and node 2 are in, say, a cluster configuration.
Cluster
So
configuration.
here, what I mean is, mm, the node 1, if it goes down, then your central instance services which are running on node 1 will start running on node 2. Okay.
Okay.
Let us say if your node 1 is down. Okay. And let's say if your node 2 is down, then your database services will start running on node 1. So node 2 is down, you can,
I mean,
they
it
will move.
switches. It
Yeah, it
switches.
switches. Yeah, it switches. So
It switches automatically, or should we do something to switch it?
see, one is, there is a auto mode that is configured in the software.
Okay.
That is configured in the software. You can also do it manually. Let us say you know that there is an issue with say node 1, then you can also switch it you manually. But then you should know the cluster configuration, uh, which are the resources which have been assigned, which are the, you should know what are the critical resources which are assigned to for switchover. So
Is
if
there
you
is there any possibility where the auto switch fails or something like that?
no, it doesn't fail. So that is the responsibility of the basis team. Once it is configured,
Okay.
na, then you have to test the cluster. Let us say for the first time you're configuring central instance node 1, and on node 2 you're configuring say database. Okay.
Okay.
Once this is done, it is a responsibility of the customer, or let us say if you are part of the customer's team, then you have to test this cluster. You should be able to test that. Okay, I am bringing down node 2. It should switch all these services from database from node 2 to node 1, and node 1 to node 2. And then users should be able to log on to the system without any issue. Okay. So
Okay.
once, let us say your node 1 is down and it has gone to node 2, so your central instance is now running on node 2. So your app server should be able to connect to node 2 automatically. Okay. Because initially it was connecting to node 1 because your central instance is this. So your app servers were connecting to node 1, and um, now you have switched over this to node 2. So your app server should connect to node 2 automatically. So this cluster configuration is a bit complex. So there are experts who manage this. It is not that it is the entire responsibility of the SAP basis team only, because this is related to the operating system. So there are cluster experts who manage this, or they will tell you, they will give you a manual on how to switch over these nodes, etc. Okay, but then you need to test this before you take over.
Okay.
In Linux, what I know is there is a software called Hawk. Okay,
Okay.
Hawk. So using this software, you can the entire cluster configuration is done in Linux, and then they have got a user interface wherein you can switch nodes and so on. Or if you are let us say you want to do maintenance of say node 1 or node 2, because this usually happens at that time. How to do this? It is not only you can say uh, uh, during an emergency, but during maintenance also you need to use this hawk interface to bring your nodes, uh, uh, move your nodes basically from node 1 to node 2 and node 2 to node 1. Okay.
What's this hawk? Will I study it in future classes, or are you gonna explain me now?
No, I'm not an expert in Hawk actually. So, so that if you go to the site on SUSE Linux, so that it's you will get more details there.
Okay.
But since I know that okay, this is the software which is used, so I'm not an expert in this cluster. I'm not an expert, but I know a bit of it. So I thought I'll just tell you, explain it here. See, SUSE Linux.
Sorry, I'm asking more questions.
No, 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 that's not a problem. See, whatever I know, I will tell you. Whatever it's not known to me, I will say, okay, it's not known to me. Okay. You can ask questions, that's not a problem. Now, so these are the instances which we saw. Okay. Now, coming to the different types of work processes, there are different types of work processes. Dialogue in the sense these are the interactive. Once you log on to the system, then you you're creating a purchase order, or you're creating a purchase requisition, or you're creating a sales order, and so on. So that is basically an interactive screen which you get, and that is taken care of by the dialogue work process. Update is, let us say you created a sales order and you press the save button, then it goes to a update work process wherein it updates the database with your sales order or a purchase order which you are creating.
Okay.
Then you have got another work process called the background. See,
Okay.
background in the sense, let us say you're running a report of say a trial balance, or you want to get a vendor list. For that, yeah, and if that is going to take you say about um, let us say 1 hour or something, so you need not waste your time now. So what you can do is you can execute that report and schedule it in background. So what happens is the system will run it in the background and send you a mail saying that okay, this report is created and is ready for download. Then later on you can log on to the system and download it. So the background process takes care of this background processing, wherein the users just schedule it, and then the background uh, work process takes care of it and then gives you the report. Okay.
And the background process is done by ABAP, right?
The background process is taken care of by the system. Yeah, ABAP you can say. ABAP in the sense, see, the entire SAP system is written in the ABAP programming language.
Oh,
So whatever let us say any standard reports, those are also in ABAP only. So the background work process is handled by the SAP system only, and it runs ABAP programs and then generates the reports and sends it to you in the mail, or you can log in and then you can download it later. That is possible. Then the NQ process, as I said, it takes care of handling of the lock entries. Locking mechanism in the sense, what I can tell you is, for example, I am accessing a particular, say, chart of accounts or a particular uh, account. Okay. And I'm, let us say, I'm updating the details of a particular bank. Okay. With their branch address, etc. At the same time, if someone else is also trying to log on to that particular bank, then the system doesn't allow it because I am already updating that. So once I update it, then the next user gets access to that particular bank. So that handling is taken care of by the NQ process. Okay. Then the fifth one is the spool work process. This spool work process is, as I said, for example, you have scheduled a report in the background and you want the report to be downloaded out in the evening, let us say. So what it does is this spool work process will create that report in the background itself and then store it in its own database. Okay. Then later on, what you can do is you can download that report um, yeah, uh, and then use it basically. That is one thing. Another is immediately someone wants to print something. For example, our accounts department wants to print their checks or their payment vouchers. So they give the printer number, the printer name, and then they immediately the printer is connected, and then they print the check or the payment voucher. So that is the service of the spool work process. So it caters to the printing requests. Or for example, you have got a barcode printer which is there, and you want to print something onto the barcode printer. So immediately that gets printed there. Okay. So these are the main this work processes which are involved in which caters to the entire system to each of the users. Now, while I'm explaining, it takes very less in microseconds. It is done. We will feel that okay, only this background jobs which are which are going to take. We know that okay, if you're running a report for a particular 1 month or something, then it is going to take more time. So those background jobs takes longer time. Okay, but then as a basis administrator, you need to check where it is taking time, whether your dialog work processes the time is taking or there is taking more time on dialog work processes, or whether your updation is taking time or background is taking time or locking mechanism has an issue, why your spool or your printing is taking time, that you have to analyze and do it. So here I've taken a a screenshot of the work processes which are available. I've taken this screenshot from the internet. So, for example, it will show these are the UPD and UPD2 are the update processes. SPO is the spool work process. NQ is used for locking, and these are the dialog. If you see dialog, there are almost 10 work processes which are available. Dialog 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 9 means starting with 0 to 9 is about 10 work processes which are there. So when someone logs in, now for example, here it is showing it is running. Suppose I log in, then what happens is I get logged on to I get locked to this particular work process, and then instead of waiting, it becomes running, and then I start executing the reports. Okay. Now here, for example, this process ID 5801, it is showing that it is waiting. Okay. So this way you can check which are the work processes which are taking up more time, etc. And this is the process ID. Process ID in the sense each whenever a user logs in here, he is assigned to a process ID or at the operating system level. Okay, so these process IDs you can see it in the task manager, in the Windows system or in the Linux
For
system. It is
example, if I log in, will it go to this running one or the waiting ones?
waiting one. It will go to the waiting one
Because
because
it
see, running in the sense that process
it
ID.
already has load on it,
Correct, correct,
so it takes
correct, correct.
another one. Okay then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. Waiting in the sense it is waiting for to cater to your requirement. So this
Waiting
work
for
process.
my command for.
Yeah, yeah, yes. So as soon as you log in, then you are allocated to that process ID. Okay.
And one more query, Mr. Shukla.
Yes,
Where are
yes.
we going to use these transition codes?
Transaction codes.
Yep, T codes.
Transaction codes. See, there are thousands of transaction codes which are available in SAP. They are
No,
specific to each module.
where are we gonna use them? I mean, why are we gonna use them? Just to open their servers or something like that, or some other works too?
No, see, for example, here I have given you say SM50.
Yep.
Okay. This SM50 is you will have to use it on a daily basis.
Okay.
Because see, you are a basis administrator. So
Mm-hmm.
as an administrator, you should know what is the status of the system now.
Yep.
So you will be running this code SM50 to
Okay.
see what is the status,
Okay.
whether everything is running fine. Because for example, I will tell you one example. You are running SM50 and you find that from number 0 to 9, everything is showing as running.
Okay.
That means there is a lot of load on the system because
Okay.
the next user, when he tries to log in, he may not be able to log in because all these are occupied and in the status running. You get it
Okay.
like that.
What would
So
we do? What should we do if everything is running or something like that?
See, in that case, you have to check which program is running on this particular system. Because
Okay,
if everywhere it is showing running, that means either all the users are running the same program, or uh, you know there is some issue, maybe due to the updation which has got. Even you will find out that even the updation is running. Maybe updation is taking a lot of time, or there could be a problem with NQ. So it depends why you're then that is where you'll have to analyze
okay.
what is the issue, like that.
We should check from again. We check it from for dialog 1 to 10 again where the
No,
problem is.
no. See, what happens is, say, let us say 0 to 9, everything is occupied. So you can randomly select one of them and then analyze what is the issue.
Okay,
Okay. So like that, you will have to do the analysis and then narrow down what is the particular issue, like that.
okay.
So these are the different work processes which we saw. This is the PID, is the process ID, like we discussed, running and waiting.
What's BGD over here?
Background,
Hardware
background. BGD is
background.
background
Okay,
process. So if you, let us say if you are running a report in the background, then you will find that it will show that it is running. Okay, like that. So looking at this particular